Did you ever wonder what this emotional intelligence skill was about? No? Nobody? Please. Thank you. I mean, that would have been a little bit awkward otherwise, guys. Anyway, I was tempted too. I mean, I've been hearing about it from when I was an IT project manager, my very last position before experiencing an existential crisis and deciding, not without completely freaking out, to quit everything and start the most rewarding investment of my whole life. Guess what? Investing in myself. I won't lie to you guys. My primary goal from this self-development journey was extremely selfish. Simply recovering from my paralyzing perfectionism syndrome, making me feel miserable despite all the whole social success proves. By the way, people with whom I've had the privilege to share my story know how much I'm currently allergic to the word perfect. It took me a while and progressively developing my critical thinking skill before I could be able to recognize the content which was truly helping me grow instead of just numbing the root causes of my imbalance, and this through exclusively practicing self-compassion. What I mean here, guys, is that we could so easily get trapped into those motivational gurus, tips, or affirmations to develop a positive attitude. It could work for a while, you know. It worked for me. I used to have post-its everywhere in my place. I used to read them on a daily basis in a desperate trial to trick my subconscious program. It worked so perfectly, I became so relaxed, compassionate, generous, elegant, healthy, all what I could wish for myself, to make it short, until an incident, or maybe two in parallel, occurred and completely broke my fragile balance. Luckily, my family was very supportive and respected, without even understanding, my decision to literally reinvent myself from within. I mean, it was actually not possible for me to answer any question at that time anyway, you know? I was so devastated and lost. And I need here to admit to you that I'm so grateful to a friend of mine who introduced me to a life-changing book, The 7 Habits by Stephen Covey. It was actually the starting point of understanding how much my lens of both myself and the world were distorted. How much limiting beliefs I was carrying. How much hard work I needed to do if I want to give myself a chance to unbecome the filter. I figured out how much ego-driven I was. And most importantly, that my perfectionism syndrome was nothing but a shield against my profound shame of never feeling good enough. Oh my goodness. It was like the starting point. And now I am guessing you might ask yourself, why are we building those shields at all? And why are we feeling this shame in the first place? Right? Great, that's what I guessed. As their name is stipulating it, those shields are being built to protect us. From what? Our insecurities, guys. We can distinguish multiple and numerous kinds of shields, but we can in general categorize them into two groups. The first one being those shields which are hurting us, namely being a pleaser, an achiever, hiding, withdrawing, keeping secrets, all kinds of addictions to things as well as to people, which is not really recognizable easily. Now, the second group is those shields which will cause harm to others. That is aggressiveness, making use of our power or wealth or social status or even formal authority to intimidate others, free cruelty, narcissism, and the list goes on. Now, why are we feeling this shame in the first place? Well, simply because we were all so well trained not to fully love ourselves, guys. We were criticized by everybody around us, and mainly by our family at an early age. Instead of being elevated and celebrated, we were so harshly asked to prove our worth on a daily basis. This could be very disturbing, guys. And ironically, our parents, according to the brilliant Brené Brown, have been asking us to be polite and behave decently, while all what they were doing at home was to mistreat each other, even in a very subtle way. Here are her exact words. The problem is that our parents are asking us, are looking for emotions and thinking patterns that their children have never seen modeled. This can be really confusing, guys. What is even more ironic is that those same parents are shocked when discovering their children are bullies at school, and that they could even be the root cause of another kid committing suicide. Unfortunately, those school bullies are more likely to become the future mean adults, constantly putting others down, even through toxic humor, so that they could feel better than the person or even the community being dispraised. Yes, our ego is so fond of giving us such an illusion. Well, you could feel lost here and ask yourself, where is this going, Myriam? Don't get me wrong, but I really still don't understand the link between all of this and the emotional intelligence skill. That was the topic of your speech, remember? Am I right? Great, that's what I guessed. So here is the deal, guys. It's all about destroying those shields we've been talking about and reviewing our distorted social lens. And here we will need to separate between two things. The first one being challenging the status quo and engaging in life by our own rules. This itself will help us develop our critical thinking skill and reach a certain level of self-love and freedom. This means that this form of self-awareness is still limited and will only deal with our intellectual, verbal, logical left part of our brain. We will still have distorted centers. Our center was introduced by Covey as the foundation of our 4 life support factors: security, direction, judgment, and power. Now, the second and most important thing is analyzing all our behavior, decisions, choices, and thoughts in relation with the universal correct principles, our core part, our original center, which was only biased by the lifetime conditioning. This is what we know as our spirit, guys. Now, what is such a process really doing? Actually, it is tapping into our creative, emotional, right part of our brain in addition to the left one, so that we could create a magnificent synergy between both of them and make all of our brain function. Let me give you an example of such a powerful self-awareness exercise. I am a homophobic person. So I will be asking myself this simple question: am I violating any universal correct principle being this homophobic person? The trivial answer to my question is absolutely. I am violating the human dignity. I am violating the free will. If we admit there is a choice at all, since gay animals do exist in nature. I am violating fairness. We all know how much discriminated this gay community is being around the globe. So let's do the math, guys. I am not only violating 1 or 2, but 3 huge universal correct principles. I know, this is uncomfortable. That's the point. Doing this self-awareness exercise is putting us in front of our limiting beliefs and how ugly they are. It is actually triggering a conscious shame now. It's not an unconscious one. And a pain and some magnificent and beautiful compassion for this gay community. It is hopefully giving birth to a new algorithm, which is this time chosen and centered on those principles which will be replacing the old distorted one we never chose in the first place. Yes, I know we are getting into the emotional intelligence now, I promise. So, by becoming this principle-centered person, we are actually killing our insecurities and demons, guy. We are healing our emotional scars and flashbacks. We are destroying those invasive limiting beliefs. By doing so, we are moving from being a reactive person, that is, judging, labeling, making assumptions, seeking only to be understood, being a victim, and blaming everybody and even the universe for our problems, having emotional outbursts, And the list goes on. So, what is this inducing actually? What is this implying actually? I will be able of becoming proactive instead of being this reactive person. What do I mean by being proactive? It means that I will be able of understanding now the triggers of my physical emotions. Those emotions, I will be sending them to my brain, which will be translate them into feelings whose nature is correlated to the quality of our subconscious program. Yes, you guessed right. The subconscious program is actually the responsible for this process simply because it is the fastest and most powerful part of our brain. Let me give you a simple example here. If a person, you, are being mean to me with no reason. No, not you. Anyone else. Anyone else. Anyone else not here, not in this room. So a person is being mean to me without any reason, any obvious reason. I will be feeling anger and frustration, and this is the natural emotion triggered by my body. Now, my body will be sending this emotion to my brain, which will be translating it into, guess what? Pity for this person. I will be wishing peace, internal peace for this person, simply because I am now so aware that this person's behavior is talking much more about who she is than about who I am. It's just her pain which is talking. It's just her suffering and emotional scars which are talking. So the feeling will be completely different, and I will be able of responding to the stimulus instead of reacting to it, and maybe and hopefully inspiring this person, because she will be so confused, you know? A person is being mean and I am just like smiling to her and wishing her peace, you know? So, now, let's go to the second part. So this was the first part, the first step of building the emotional intelligence. And Covey calls it the private victory. So this step is a crucial prerequisite of the second one, which is involving others, and during which we will be learning to develop our active listening skills. What do you mean by actively listening? Well, it means that instead of listening with the intention to respond, we listen to understand. Instead of listening to the words, we listen to the body language and the emotions. Instead of listening with the ears, we listen with the heart. How is that even possible? Well, simply because with this private victory comes an amazing paradigm shift, namely seeking first to understand and then to be understood. This new paradigm is literally the foundation of building trust. Is that all what it takes? Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but that would have been so easy, right? It's just the starting point. Now, if we want to raise the trust reserve, or what Covey also calls the emotional bank account. And I'm so sorry, I'm talking about Kobe so much. He's my mentor, my legendary mentor I never met, so I'm so sorry, but yeah, I know. So it is called the emotional bank account. And in order to raise this one, we will need to make some deposits. The first and most obvious one is attending to the little things, the free courtesies. We need to understand, guys, that in relationships, the small things are actually the big ones. We are also tender deep inside, even for those who can have a cold or even a cruel appearance. It's just their scars. The second, and this one is a funny one actually, is clarifying expectations. Why? What makes of it funny actually? Because we tend to think that our expectations are so trivial and shared by everybody. Well, this is a big lie, people. And that's the reason why we are having so many meaningless conflicts between individuals, simply because the expectations were not clarified. So, the third one now, and this is such an important one, is keeping our promises, guys. I mean, let's be pragmatic. We cannot understand a person from the very first interactions, even being armed with the most developed active listening skills. It just takes time. So when we cultivate this beautiful habit of keeping our promises, we are actually building bridges that span the gaps of understanding. A fourth deposit, and a so crucial one, is showing integrity. Integrity is very similar to honesty, guys, but it goes beyond it. While honesty is confirming my words to reality, integrity is actually confirming reality to my words. For instance, if I'm saying that I cannot take toxic humor, and that you are telling me a joke, a friend is telling me a joke about another friend, let's say, that I am laughing at it, thinking it's okay since I'm not the initiator anyway, well, you guessed right, but I still have some work to do on my integrity. Integrity is a difficult decision, guys. You are warned. Don't you dare say you weren't later. Okay? Anyway, what makes of it hard is that many people would get pissed off of you becoming so serious for them. The great news now is that those same people would not help but to respect you anyway. I personally tend to prefer being respected to accept it. Now the final, and this is my favorite one, is apologizing quickly and sincerely, and this needs to be perceived as sincere, out of my heart when screwing things up. This is taking a great deal of character strength, guys. It needs such a high level of internal security. And that's specifically why this private victory is a prerequisite. Simply because our security coming from the principles which are by definition unchangeable and timeless is becoming stable and progressively unlimited. This is why we are becoming so able of vulnerability and exposing ourselves emotionally. We are not afraid of people taking advantage of this vulnerability. simply because our new self-love value is bravery, replacing our old ego need for protection one. Now, this second step of building the emotional intelligence is called the public victory. When I'm reaching this level, I am moving from the proactivity sphere to the interdependency arena. If I am physically interdependent, I know that I can do any physical task alone, but I also recognize that you and I, working on it together, would achieve much more than I would ever be able to do on my own. If I am emotionally interdependent, I am so aware of my intrinsic worth, but I also admit my need for sharing love. If I am intellectually interdependent, I know that I will always need the best thinking and wisdom of everybody to join mine. Now, if I may conclude, I would say, forget about your job. Come on, Myriam, you gotta stop confusing us, right? Yeah, right, I know, yeah. I'm so sorry, guys. This is extremely important, yes, but developing the emotional intelligence skill goes beyond the workplace. I know that we tend to think that developing it is required only for people who are willing to become leaders at their office and drive a change. It's not only this. It's like a very crucial part to develop like this emotional intelligence for our life overall. It is the key to build truly healthy relationships, which itself is a component of our fulfillment and our emotional, mental, and even physical health. We are like no different, guys. I know, I can fully understand that in the quality of human beings, we tend to accept and appreciate what we can relate to. That's specifically why I'm telling you this is for all of you guys. According to Brené Brown, we are all hardwired for connection, curiosity, and engagement. We all crave purpose and have a deep desire to create and contribute. We all want to show up, learn, and inspire. We all want to take risks, embrace our vulnerabilities, and be courageous. This is the real meaning of a leader, guys. It has absolutely nothing to do with our position or social status. It has everything to do with our moral authority and the interdependent person we are all so able of becoming if only we can give ourselves a chance to rewrite this invasive subconscious program and consequently unleash our full potential and divinity. Thank you very much.